In this video, we're looking at sole enterprise as a business category. This is a very important business category that involves billions and billions of entrepreneurs who are trying to start a business and start one in this category. Now, this is one of four main categories in terms of business. So let's take a closer look at this category, sole enterprise. Okay, so by definition, it says sole enterprise, or sometimes the word proprietorship is used. It's the same thing. Sole enterprise, sole proprietorship is the same thing. So, but here we're going to be using the word enterprise. So it says here the sole enterprise is an unincorporated business. Now, what does that mean? It means that the business is not incorporated, meaning that the business does not stand on its own. It's not its own entity. Corporated businesses are their own entity. So let's put that here. This is entity, meaning they stand alone, meaning they take responsibility. They, being the business itself, takes responsibility for any actions, for any, for example, debts, liabilities, and so forth. The business takes that responsibility, not the owner. But the sole enterprise is not incorporated. It's our unincorporated business with one owner, right? Sole, right? That's what sole means. One owner, just you, who pays personal income tax on profits from the business with little government regulations. And this is very important because government doesn't regulate this type of business so much because for a number of reasons. One, they want them to be creative. Two, they know that this category of business is the driver of the economy. So they want as little regulation as possible so that people will get into this category. People will become entrepreneurs. They will, start sole enterprise businesses and so forth and move the economy forward. They are the drivers of the economy. They are the engine of the economy because there are so many of them, and they provide services. They sell milk, sell sugar, sell water, the basic things that people need on a daily basis. They sell those things and they make it available, readily available. There's a sole enterprise right next to you who's selling some of these basic amenities. All right. So with little government regulation, they are the simplest business to set up, right, or take apart. Right. It doesn't take much to set up this type of business. Just a credit card, 30 minutes, you're done. You're a business person. Congratulations, you're a sole entrepreneur. You register your business online, you fill out the form, and you choose a name, and there it is. It's that simple. And again, it's that simple for a reason, to ensure that people have access to this category without much bottleneck, without much bureaucratic paperwork, etc. So it is the simplest business to set up, and also the simplest to take apart, right? If you're able to set it up very, very quickly, you can take it apart very quickly. If it's not working, it's not worth your time, you can take it down very quickly. You don't even have to put a sign on the business. You can just close and move to the next idea. So making them popular among individual self-contractors or business owners, right? And that's the beauty of sole enterprise business category. It's so flexible. It's very easy to set up, very easy to tear down. Not much capital is needed these days. You can be a sole entrepreneur online. With technology, you don't need a place. You don't need overhead. You don't need to rent a shop and pay hundreds of dollars in rent, electricity, and all of those things. No, you can be a sole entrepreneur just with technology. Sell online, and that's it. And so it's a very important category, and this is the definition of sole entrepreneur or sole enterprise as a category. It's very easy to set up. The owner pays personal income tax on the profits from the business. It's not incorporated. It's not incorporated. It has very little government regulations. They are the simplest business to set up, the simplest to take apart, and this makes them very popular among individuals, self-contractors, and business owners. All right, so let's move on to the next point. One of the key characteristics of sole enterprise is no separation. They have no legal entity. They are created by sole proprietorship unlike corporations and limited partnership, right? So there is no separation between the business and the owner. So the business and the owner are one and the same in the eyes of the law. One and the same in the eyes of the law. And that's why we said in the definition that the owner pays personal income tax. Let's come back to this. The owner pays personal income tax on profits from the business because the business is the owner is the business. There is no separation in the eyes of law, and that's what this means. No separate legal entity. No separate legal entity between the business and the owner. So here is the owner of the business, and this is the business, right? And this is the business. And according to the law, there is no separation, right? There is no separation. So let's take this off. They are one and the same. One and the same. And because they are one and the same, that brings us to this third point here. The sole entrepreneur is not safe from liability incurred by the business, right? And this is a very important point. And it's an important point because there is no separation between the business and the owner. So the debts of the business are the debts of the owner. The profits of the business are the profits of the owner, right? And if the owner owes the bank, the business cannot pay, the business is not making enough money to pay, well, they can come after the personal properties of the owner. Right? If the owner has a house, they can take the house because, again, there is no separation between the owner and the business. Unlike corporations, if corporation is in debt, the managers of those corporations don't have to pay with their personal resources. That's the difference. That's the key difference, right? So the sole entrepreneur is not safe from liabilities incurred by his business or her business. And the other point here then, the fourth point here then, is the debt of the business are also the debt of the owner, and that ties in with the third point in terms of liabilities. However, all profits flow directly to the owner of a sole entrepreneur business, right? So again, you get all the profits, of course. You don't share the profits with anyone because again, it's sole enterprise, right? You don't share the profits with anyone, so that's the benefit. In other categories like business partnership, you share profits amongst the business, the partners. But here, you don't share the profit, and that's the key advantage of this category. But also, the debts are all yours. If you are going to take all the profits, you're going to take all the debts as well. And that's what this means. The debts of the business are also the debts of the owner. However, all profits flow directly to the owner of a sole entrepreneur business. All right, so the final point here they're going to be making is the benefit of sole entrepreneurship is tax advantage, right? So they have a lot of tax advantage. And that tax advantage is if you don't make money on the business, well, you don't pay taxes on your losses, right? You don't pay taxes on your losses. And your losses are not part of the tax structure that you pay. And that's to give businesses in this category a break because they are small, they are fragile, they don't have access to loans as much because banks really don't give them loans because they're operating alone. They don't have a lot of capital, etc. So the government gives them a break in terms of taxes. If you lose money in your business, you don't pay taxes on the losses, right? You do not pay taxes on the losses. And that's a very huge tax advantage. All right, so the disadvantage of sole entrepreneur or entrepreneurship is obtaining capital, right? That is a very difficult thing for them. Like I just said moments ago, the banking sector really don't look at sole entrepreneurs for loans. They ignore them because they know they don't have the resources. They don't have the capital to pay back loans. They don't have collateral. They do not have collateral for the most part for the banks to hold on to. All right, so obtaining capital funding is a challenge, specifically through established channels such as equity sharing and obtaining bank loans or lines of credit. Right, selling shares, they cannot sell shares. They don't have stocks, and that's what this means. Selling shares, they cannot do that because they are not public companies, right? So this is a key disadvantage. Disadvantage of a sole entrepreneurship is obtaining bank loans, right? It's obtaining bank loans or capital funding, specifically through the established channels like the regular banks and so forth, etc., and obtaining lines of credit. All of those things are challenges for sole entrepreneur business. So this is sole entrepreneurship. It's a very, very important category. It's the entry level category for businesses. It's one of the four key business categories, and this is where a lot of people try. They're creative, they're ingenious, they fail, they succeed, they move on. Some of them, transition into bigger businesses, become huge companies. Some of them, start up this way and become huge businesses down the road and so forth. But most of them stay small. Most of them stay small because, again, they don't have capital, they don't have access to lines of credit, they don't have huge contracts coming their way. They are just selling basic amenities that citizens need: milk, sugar, water, bread, those sort of things that citizens need to survive on a daily basis. This is sole enterprise as a business category.